Welcome back to Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 25, This Side of Paradise, or as the real fans know it, No, wait, I did that the wrong way around. Episode 20... Look, it's Episode 24 by production, No, it's not. It's Episode 25 by production, Episode 24... by the way it was released. It's complicated. Yesterday, when I was setting up this stream, I realized that the playlist for production order, the way we do this live, has like 30 views. And the playlist for release order, which is not how we do it, I think it might be how Paramount orders it. I'm not sure. Yeah, Paramount orders it in release order. Paramount Plus. That has like 126 views. For some reason, release order is way more popular, which I was not expecting among the people who would actually like watch this. If you don't know the difference, production order is the order they made the episodes in, and release order is the order that they actually aired in. And the reason production order is better, it just is better. Like, the only downside to production order is that streaming services and DVDs often list release order. But the reason production order is better is because it's just more cohesive. For one thing, it takes a while to do the special effects back in these days, even though there's not a lot. So you tend to backload your effects-heavy episodes. Like Balance of Terror is episode 8 or something that was produced, but it was in like the back half of things that were released, I think. It was way delayed. And so you tend to backload effects-heavy episodes, which means you tend to backload... you condense your more actiony episodes and backload them, so the series is very differently weighted, as opposed to more evenly spread out, how they produced it. You also, especially Season 1, they changed a lot of stuff early on. I think we're mostly done changing stuff, but, uniforms and positions and stuff like that. If you watch it in release order, it's totally random. Like, people pop up having different positions. They'll go back to old positions, old uniforms. It'll be really weird. If you go production order, it's just like a linear change. Like, yes, things change, but they change, in one direction. We never go back. So, when you watch release order, there's a bunch of scenes where you're like, what the heck? Like, well, I mean, it's because... it's the 60s and continuity wasn't that big of a deal. But you're like, oh wow, I guess Sulu's in like a comms now or some weird stuff like that. But in production order, you never notice that. It's like everyone starts off wearing the wrong color shirt, and then we just work our way towards the correct shirts. But anyway, if you don't know what we're doing, we are basically doing an audio commentary track live. So I've got the episode here in front of me. For legal reasons, of course, I can't just stream an episode of Star Trek. Hang on, I haven't set some things up correctly. There we go. I can't just stream an episode of Star Trek as I was muting the audio. So it's bring your own video, bring your own audio. We will have a blurred version of the episode in the background with no audio. But there's a link to Paramount Plus in the description. The way I do this is I have... what is it? Just one of the Blu-ray remastered sets. I don't actually know what it's called. But it's the same episodes from like the 60s, and it's the same remastered from like 20 years ago, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, if you choose to watch the standard, that's fine. I will personally be watching the remastered. We'll stay all in sync. It's just personal preference, but the times sync up. It's just if I comment on a visual effect, you'll be seeing something different. That's the only difference. But yeah, now in a little bit, we're going to do a countdown, a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You have to push that door. My wife's trying to sneak by. There we go. We live in an old house, so all the doors you kind of need to convince to open or close. Where was I? Yes, we're going to do a little countdown, and then we're all going to hit play and be synced up. But I'm going to ramble a little bit so people have time to be set up. And I had a ramble topic right there to go, and now I can't remember what it was. We haven't done one of these in a while. We skipped a week last week because I did something. Alex, what was I doing last week? I think I was at a con. I think that was last week. I don't know. There's been a lot going on. But yeah, no last week. We are actually approaching the end of season 1.
What's up?
What were we doing last week? Was that the con?
That was the con.
Yeah, it was at a convention.
We were at a convention, and then we both got sick.
But yeah, we've got 4 weeks after today, just 4 more episodes of season 1, which beautifully ties us in to the start of Lower Decks, which as usual, I will be reviewing, not as watch-alongs, but just reviewing them the Saturday after they come out. And afterwards, we'll just keep going with season 2. That's the plan. We still got Doctor Who tomorrow, going through with Kaden, with the 10th Doctor's 2nd season, 10 in rows. But yeah, I think I've probably wrapped up a lot. I'll talk about the con tomorrow, because, you know, that's when I'm with my brother, and he probably would like... He'd like those stories. But yeah, as I said, I think it's time to do... Just starting the episode, and I forgot to hit record. Start recording. There we go. That is important to do. Yeah, if you're just joining us on a video, if I ever have to re-upload this for some reason, what we're going to be doing is starting the countdown. As I said before, it's going to be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And on go, everybody hits play. Not 1. I guess technically it would be 0, but it's on the word go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And every time it feels really inconsistent, but like I'm watching a clock. I'm watching the recording timer click up, so who knows. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, this is an episode. It's one of those, you get a lot of these in TOS, where I remember the plot of the episode, but I don't really remember anything that happens in the episode. Hang on, I'm going to turn subtitles on for myself. No, I'm not. I didn't back up the subtitles because I ripped my Blu-rays for backups. But yeah, I remember, like, the gimmick of the planet. I'll spoil it at some point. You know, I assume you've seen these. I assume you've seen all of Star Trek, honestly, but... Yeah, so it's a planet where, like, the sun has some sort of deadly radiation, whatever. But these people survive because, like, they're high or something like that. They're high on a flower. That's all I remember about this episode. Nothing else. I did, when I was setting up, just testing the audio, I, like, randomly click into the episode and was reminded that there's a romance plot between Spock and a random woman. And I'm gonna bet all of my money, which I don't have, but all of my money. I'm gonna bet all the donations on this stream that there's that doesn't really work with Strange New Worlds anymore. Of course, we're not gonna get any donations this stream, but that's beside the point. Also, again, we're not getting a red shirt. Wait, I guess this is about to counter what I'm gonna say. But the idea of, like, the red shirt that always dies, someone actually did the math. I think I meant to take those stats doing this watch-along. And I believe red shirts were actually the least likely to die in the show. However, if you were specifically a red shirt from the Enterprise on an away mission, you were extremely likely to die. You had, like, an extremely high fatality rate. And so it comes less from, like, red shirts actually die, that, like, a very specific subset, you know, of red shirts die. Which is interesting. I know the cliffhanger, the cold open, is that they're alive and we've established they should be dead. But it's really funny to have, like, I'm John Smith. Bum, bum, bum. Cut, fade to titles. That's a good Lower Decks opening there. So you do a cold opening with, like, a super dramatic reveal, but you don't give the audience enough context to understand why it's dramatic. And so then you cut to the title sequence, and when you get back, you have, like, Boimler or someone go, like, who's that? And then they just explain it. I don't know. That seems like the sort of thing they do. Boom, 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 boom. I do love the music in TOS. It is one of my favorites. I think it might have won some awards. I can't remember. I think one thing in TOS won an award. It was either like sound design or the music, but I don't remember. God, this is a quiet episode though. Hang on, is it my audio settings? Stereo. That might be better. No, it's not better. I don't know, I can still hear it. It's just weirdly quiet for TOS. It's always interesting in sci-fi, where in later series, you know, you get just some magic injection, and it's like, this'll cure it, or this'll undo it, which makes sense. Like, if you have genetic engineering abilities, which they do for medical purposes. But they're like, yeah, you can kind of sit here for a week and then leave with no ill effects. That's not really how radiation works. Like, I don't know, it's just always funny, it's almost like you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, but there's this hard line where suddenly you're like dead, and it's just hard. There's no in-between state. You just die immediately after 3 weeks. That's not enough. Actually, that might be enough, actually. They're not playing the music. There we go. I will say, especially as a kid, on the first times going through, I really appreciate this piece of music. I call it the beautiful woman music. I think it's actually called like Rose or something. It's really hard to look up. But I would always get confused because you'd have a scene like that where the camera kind of pauses on like some random woman. And I'm like, why are we just like have this random static shot? It's like, why is the dialogue kind of frozen? And then this music plays. And I call it the beautiful woman music because it's the music that lets me know that we're supposed to know this is the beautiful woman of the episode. And so I genuinely wouldn't know until that music played. I'm like, okay, cool. I actually remember in college, in English class, we read a short story. God knows who wrote it. Is it Le Guin? Oh my gosh, it might be. I remember that because of a Star Trek ship. But where people would like engineer beauty, like the perception of beauty out of them or something like that. And they'd talk about watching action movies with a friend where like they'd talk with their friend about trying to figure out who the hot guy was supposed to be, you know, like those John Rambo types. And I was like, man, this is just how I live. This is how I watch media. And it was a very interesting essay the teacher liked, because we had to write like, how do you think you would exist in this world? Like, what do you think it would be like to not have this perception of beauty? And I'm like, it's not the same thing, but this is literally just how I live. And they were like, fascinating. That's a good point. I'll have to keep out an eye if they mess up and put like bird sound or something. Oh, wait, did Spock live on Earth? I don't think he did. Unless he just, like, she just met him on Earth. But, I actually don't know. I think Spock... I guess he would have lived on Earth to go to the Academy for a little bit. I kind of once I saw the, remember the romance subplot. I kind of remember it was like fine, I guess. I mean, like most things in TOS, a little dated, but um, I feel after Stranger Worlds, it's really gonna be hard to reconcile with the fact that he had like a full-on relationship with Nurse Chapel. That's a nice location shot, actually. I don't know what we do different now, but there's something about TOS specifically that always just feels like they are just standing, like it could be standing in my backyard. Like they're just in a normal field. Whereas other shows, I feel, do a good job making it feel like an alien environment. I mean, I live in Washington, and most of this has got to be filmed around California, like LA, which is a different climate, but it's not like totally alien to some of what you can get up here. But TNG and like Enterprise have probably got that same situation. Did he forget his line? Dirt, we eat it. That's what he does. I mean, surely though, it's not the soil, it's like those tomatoes and like the fact that you have to half-ass work in the fields, like these extras in the background. Alex, you want to see these people half-ass plow a field as extras?
Here, give me a moment. I was trying to not interrupt your stream.
Hang on. They're behind Kirk. I hope we get him again. They've stopped. No, there we go. He's kind of half-assing that plow job. I mean, I've never farmed like that. I don't know what you're supposed to do.
Is he mopping? Or?
I think, yeah, that's what he's doing. He's got a broom, and he's cleaning the tomatoes,
It looks like he's mopping, but I know he's supposed to... Plowing is...
What it is some guy who was told to plow the field, and he's just looking at this plow like, I guess it's kind of like a broom. I'll just do that. Do we still do appendectomies? I mean, I guess why not, but is there a better... I don't know, could you fix it? Okay. Oh, I see. It would have, yeah, scar tissue from an appendectomy. Wait, I actually don't remember. Oh, yeah, it's this, like, flower drug. I mean, surely you could take the flower, that's keeping them alive, and turn it into medication. Like, a lot of actual medication come from plants that are, like, drugs or poisonous or, something like that. Ah, you see, I remembered this plot being dated. What I forgot was that line. No, it's a little lower than that. I have no idea her name. I am interested to see this plot, as much as I expect Stranger Worlds ruined it. If you can get any sort of context or depth, behind what's in TOS from Stranger Worlds, which is how a prequel should work. Like, even that line, you could, the one we had where she was saying, you only let people say one side of you, and then Spock sort of kind of contemplative. You could see him thinking about, Nurse Chapel and where he actually did... we'll call it embrace his human side. This isn't the time to really slam Strange New Worlds for its flaws. It's got a lot of great, but it's got a lot of flaws. You know, why is Kirk so hell-bent on evacuating them? Like, there is no problem. They've, like, surely you'd call Starfleet and go, hey, the situations have changed. Like, yeah. Like, it would be so easy to just have him, like, call the Enterprise and have him go, your orders still stand. Those people are in danger. Bertol Rays impair thinking. They don't know what they're saying. Done. Yeah, like, I'm on this guy's side. There's a mystery, but why make the episode about a conflict between Kirk and the colonists, and why not make it about the mystery of trying to figure out why they're still alive? Like, you have these sort of some feelings of unease you're getting with the music, just the general situation. Everyone's like acting a little off in what feels like an intentional way. You know, like they're a little slow to respond. They've always got those like slight smiles. It's something slightly unnatural. I just feel it's an unnecessary plot point. That's the magic word, spores. Hang on, why are the plants alive? Did I talk over an explanation? I guess if, you know, they lived on this planet, the answer is they evolved against the Bertol rays, but why didn't the animals? Maybe it's just that young? As you well know... Wait, is Spock the beautiful woman now? They're playing the beautiful woman music. I guess Spock has become a beautiful woman. Congratulations. I wonder if this was inspired in some way by how, like, the writer saw hippie cultures, because this was the 60s, and it is kind of like... I mean, it's not hippie, but I can see parallels of, like, some more basic community that's all, like, you belong to us, we're all happy, communism, you know, that sort of stuff. This is interesting, though, because the flowers... Actually, I don't remember what they do exactly. Like, did Spock always love this woman, but chose not to do anything about it because of his, you know, like, Vulcan principles? Or is he drugged right now? Like, has he basically just been slipped something and is being sexually assaulted? I mean, I guess to be fair, the woman has also been drugged, but still, it puts a very different light on the situation. Transporter, maybe? Even the fact that the background ambience, there's not really any wind sounds, but because of the plot, there's no animal sounds. Like, that's unsettling. You're not supposed to sit outside an environment like this and hear nothing. I've never seen Leonard Nimoy act with emotion. Well, I guess I have. I've seen this episode, but it's an interesting way of having Spock speak, because I think he's so used to the monotone Spock, which he's trying to keep, but still put emotion behind it. I'm not even sure that's true for Vulcan. Like, Vulcan has art. Could you imagine living on a desert planet and then, like, seeing a rainbow? Like, not even just to consider its beauty. That'd be weird. It'd be like, what the heck is that thing? Why is the sky all colorful? I really want to know what these flowers do. I mean, it probably is basically just a super carefree. God, was there an episode recently we had where I feel like it made people emotionless or gave them super emotions, and then they, like, went crazy? Is it Space Seed? I think I'm thinking of Space Seed. Is, like, this whole superior ability breeds superior ambition thing. Is that really important? I mean, they bothered to explain how he'd found Spock, which, like, I didn't even think of. He could just look around. Like, Spock isn't that far from the colony, but I think that's proof that you could have a little line like, we told Starfleet Command that you're still here. They still want you evacuated. Bam. Like, I guess it's not really a huge focus of the episode. It's just a weird detail then, I guess. Like, why even have it if the episode doesn't need it? Did you need to fill 5 minutes? I actually like that farmer's outfit. It's a pretty good outfit for just, like, that agrarian colonists, and it's not a future outfit that's just, like, put some fabric over your boobs and call it a day. You know, it's like an actual, especially for the climate when you consider, like, yeah, that just looks functional. They are. They're like big tubes covered in green fabric. You remind me of that time we were all in a musical, Spock. Actually trying to think, has Kirk been there for any of the times Spock's been super emotional? I don't think so. Other than the musical, but, you know. You know, people, I think including me, complain that Paul Wesley's Kirk doesn't really feel super Kirk-esque. And I don't mean that, like, perception of Kirk is like the guy who has sex with all the green aliens every week. But something he never actually does until the reboot, by the way. But I feel like Paul Wesley is actually, he doesn't really look like Kirk. But I feel like he actually really does get, like, the no-nonsense. Kirk's very kind of one-track mind, and, like, he never really seems to want to have any fun. You know, he's like Spock was being pretty frivolous there, and he's, like, basically getting angry, which, I mean, sure, Spock's, like, neglecting his duties. But I feel like Paul Wesley actually does act that very well. The real problem is just that he's not William Shatner. And I think people overemphasize the whole, like, romantic suaviness of Kirk. Which is, like, barely in TOS. Like, even knowing that, I think people, including myself, overemphasize that. Like, he's so angry in this episode. Like, should he really be angry? If anything, this is a kind of humorous, probably solvable situation, you know? At least how I remember Paul Wesley's performance, it'd be basically like that, you know? If you put William Shatner's Kirk in Strange New Worlds, I feel he'd act basically the same. Doesn't look like it. Why did you short circuit them, though? Man, I really want to know what these flowers do. Oh, God, I know what I'm thinking of. It's Cybok. In the movies, when Cybok, like, you know, helps you through whatever your deepest trauma was, everyone on the Enterprise is like, yeah, okay, I'll commit treason against my utopian federation. It's like, what? Like, he didn't mind control you. He just gave you a therapy session. Like, would you assassinate the president because your therapist, like, helped you? No. Like, you wouldn't. You can make it work, of course, but I feel like the explanation they're gonna give is just gonna be like, they were high. And I feel like that doesn't really justify it well enough. Are there kids on this Enterprise? I legit cannot remember. I mean, TNG has an episode where, like, Wesley gets drunk, so... Star Trek does... tuition. For some reason, it's not coming up on Memory Alpha. I do like how, when McCoy is high in this episode, he goes very Southern. Like, he is Southern, but I like it watching it. Is the actor actually Southern? Like, I'm curious. It almost sounds kind of fake, but I guess it's just super cheerful. DeForest Kelly was born in, I believe that's Georgia. GA State. Yes, he is Southern. Sorry, I was half paying attention and I just heard the line, "That's a drink, Jim." Love it. Why not just have them evolve here? I don't like how they said human, but... I mean... Is it really a problem? Sure. Fine. Oh. I guess we were meant for starships and, like, penicillin and advanced surgery and appendix procedures. Like, yeah, the only thing I feel you can really argue against this colony is that they are essentially drugged. There don't appear to be any negative side effects, but they aren't fully in their right mind. So while you can consent to living on this planet, you can never withdraw that consent because you'll never be in a full enough state of mind to go, yes, I want to leave. That's the complaint against the planet. But we didn't deserve paradise is... More broadly, there's the idea of, and God, we will get to this in that Deep Space Nine episode that also touches on this, of a simpler existence and a life without technology being better. And I've always found that an inherently arbitrary and, like, line drawing kind of narrative. Like, for example, this planet here, you might say it doesn't have technology. Well, it has plows. It has agriculture. It has the generations of selective breeding that we've gone to make our tomatoes look like that and not like a seed. It has houses. It has structures. It had animal husbandry. That was the intent. Like, the Deep Space Nine episode also, you see, like, blacksmiths and clothing and writing. It's like it has a bunch of technology. Or the idea that technology is somehow specifically human and therefore unnatural. But, like, what's the difference between, other than scale, what is the difference between a human dam and a beaver dam? Like, beavers are extremely disruptive. Beaver dams are extremely disruptive wherever they're built. And when I go to, like, nature preserves and stuff like that, I've been on field trips, they usually have to combat the beavers, because if they let them do whatever the hell they want, it, like, destroy the rivers, kill all the fish population, and it's like, there are other species that can do climate change, but you probably wouldn't say a beaver is unnatural. It just always seems like an arbitrary line draw. And, like, even Kirk here, who's like, well, we're not meant for that. Yeah, Kirk, you're not meant for this starship either. Like, humanity, assuming it was meant for something, wasn't this. You've arbitrarily drawn a line and said, the medical abilities Bones has, the technological achievements of my starship, the fact that we explore space, and we are not confined to our planet, we were meant for that. But if we solved all the problems, well, no, like, your problem specifically, we weren't meant for that. Especially because traditionally you'd probably argue the planet on the surface is closer to what humanity is supposed to be meant for if you subscribe to that idea. Because, like, it's closer to a technologyless, animalistic humanity. I'd actually love a take on this episode that somehow deconstructs that. Like, they make the ship, they fully commit and say the ship, the Constitution class, this whole Star Trek thing is the intended path for humanity. It is the natural path, but the planet isn't. And kind of show how arbitrary it is, you know? Layla? Actually, no, that is how you say that name. I don't know why I thought it was so weird. Like, my stepsister's name is Layla, but, like, something about Spock's accent made it sound... You know what it is? It's because I've heard the name Leela too much from Doctor Who. I'm like, no, it's not. It's Leela. Is that a Bible? Oh, no, it's an award. Okay. So Kurt got high, looked at his award for, like, silver at the Olympics in France, by the look of it. And then stopped being high? No. I don't remember how Kurt gets out of this. Doesn't he get, like, angry, I think? Also, shout-outs to the suitcase that is literally just a suitcase. Oh, I see. So of like the 400 people in this scenario, Kirk is the only one who realized, actually, hang on, this is wrong. That's the answer. Okay. There wasn't anyone who had like an important scientific, research project they could abandon, or maybe we're in the middle of like a phone call. I don't know, had some important thing after this mission. Had a family to get back to. And of course, Kirk got angry despite being high. Yeah, no, this one's not working for me, logically. Don't worry, next week's a good one. Next week is Devil in the Dark. Does it? Oh, I guess. Well, don't pick Spock. Man, I want that line out of context. I want to clip that, and I want aroused his great physical strength and kill on a soundboard. Like, why get Spock? We'll have to see. I think there might be a reason. Why even fight him? Why not just, like, put him in the brig? Be like, hey, I left my stuff in the brig. Could you go get it? And then, like, shout at him. I don't know. Yeah, Spock is this episode's beautiful woman. So forward thinking. Where do you get that pipe? You didn't have it in the last shot. I mean, you know what? If this isn't the most Kirk thing ever, like, of all the ways he could totally safely make Spock angry, he could beam McCoy up, who he probably could take in a fight. Like, Kirk's much younger. McCoy is a human. They're both humans. And then McCoy could just inject people with adrenaline. Like, God, Kirk, you're a little too good at this. It's also interesting from a TOS perspective that you can make Spock angry. Yeah, we'll never get that on. We'll never get that elaborated. But from a TOS perspective, it kind of feels like Spock, especially early on, genuinely is emotionless. Like, remember the opening line from Spock is like, ah, yes, annoyance, one of your human emotions. He's genuinely confused about the concept of annoyance. And it makes sense later on when Vulcans actually do have, like, very strong emotions they choose to repress. And, like, I guess you might be arguing the flowers gave him emotion. But it's interesting from this TOS perspective. Oh my god, he punched Kirk so hard it's his stunt double. Wow. That was a good effect, actually. That, I mean, I know they just replaced it with paper or something, but that showed off his strength. But, like, are you saying that if he were to say this to Spock any other day, would he also get angry? Well, Kirk, you were a mass. Even Bones would look at your racism and go, whoa, dude, that's a bit far. Except now he'd do it in a super Southern. He'd be like, I don't know how Southern people would say that. So wait, the spores are like sentient? Are they like plant Borg? I mean, I don't know, is it? I feel like it gets easier every time. Oh, so you didn't need Spock. Like, Uhura could have done that. Do you want to be fired, Spock? Also, let's keep that in mind, because I feel fellow officers hit each other. Wait a minute. Kirk literally... I mean, it was a fake copy, but Kirk got into fistfights with, like, one of the cadets. Right? There's that Irish guy who always, like, beat him up. But no, back to the original point. I feel like Uhura is just more qualified and probably doesn't have the risk of, like, actually murdering Kirk in a fist fight. Oh, McCoy? No, it is! It's Spock! Spock showed up and they played the Beautiful Woman music. Spock is the beautiful woman this week. Good for him. Was it really necessary to get changed? Wait a minute. So Spock went with the lady and saw the flowers in his uniform. And that was in the middle of the field. They then stayed in the middle of the field when we found them again, but Spock was wearing a totally different uniform. Where did the uniform come from? Did he just change in the middle of the field? I don't know what Kirk was getting at. I guess I'm gonna find out. What, does he want Spock to say he loves her while she's drugged? Surely anything they could say would be better when she's not under the influence of, like, plant Borg. Yeah, I think the spores are supposed to be, like, alive and basically mind controlling people to some extent. Which actually does explain the plot of the episode, fair enough. Six years ago, is that Discovery? I think that's early Discovery. At which point, that Spock absolutely could have told you he loved you and put his arms around you. That Spock was, like, the most emotional man I've ever seen. I don't think that's the problem. If that's the problem, just resign. You know? After this immediate situation is resolved, you don't have an obligation. Okay, but haven't we established the people on the planet don't have self-made prisons? I don't know. I feel like... I've said before, we all love Spock. But God, Spock is awful at logic, especially in TOS. Generally, the writers of Star Trek don't really seem to understand exactly what logic is. They kind of conflate logic with being emotionless and saying the word logical, which isn't what logic is. But TOS is really bad because it can't even construct a logical argument. It seems to sometimes know what one is, it just fails to construct one. But I think it also conflates logic to scientific, which is of course related, but not the same. It's possible to be 100% logical and 0% scientific. Fictional magic systems are absolutely not based in science, and if it's a good one, it's 100% logical. It has its own set of rules, it has some basic, foundational statements, and then it derives everything from those statements. That is logic. If those base statements aren't scientific, then fine. You've just built something purely logical that's not scientific. Great line read. Well done. I can feel the anger in his voice, I also love how they said trying to initiate a fistfight with 500 colonists seems like a bad idea. I assumed they meant create a riot, where, everyone is fighting at the same time, which would be an awful idea. Also, what did that guy trip on? But no, I guess that was the plan anyway, was to make everybody fight simultaneously. Okay, but they don't have communicators. God, I love how slow Bones' duck was, but the guy still full-on punched where his head was a good second or two ago. I don't know, what was your plan? Surely it was to create a settlement, set up working agriculture, and have a functioning society. And you did. You accomplished it. Look at that. It's beautiful. The only thing you failed at was to raise animals. They didn't want to progress technologically, or they would have brought the technology in the first place. I feel like he accomplished exactly what he wanted, unless he just wanted a more planned out garden, some sort of tourist attraction. Which I guess it would be true, sure. But, I don't know if that's an existential crisis. It would have been good to know what exactly they want to accomplish that they haven't. Because from the outside, it really looks like they've done it perfect. And the basis of this episode is that it's the idea that you need conflict and struggle or else society will stagnate and fail. That's what the episode is trying to say. And if we just accept that as fact, I don't know what they failed to accomplish still. Yes, they stagnated because of the spores, but their goal was to regress and then stagnate. They wouldn't have progressed beyond a certain point. And of course, logically, they would have, because, you know, these regressive societies, like, are inherently unsustainable. You know, the people who grew up who didn't decide, like, have that fundamental belief of that line draw of, like, everything after this technological level is bad, are gonna go, hey, wouldn't things be just a little bit better if we had this one thing? And over, like, centuries, you're just gonna evolve. That's how that works. But in that case, you're saying the goal is to just regress. So why does it matter if your society stagnates? Because either you take the step back, you do what stagnation is supposedly supposed to do, like collapse your society back to a less advanced state. You do that, you stagnate and let that happen, or you consciously regress your society and then hold it back forever, because you know, if you leave conflict, well, then the whole thing is conflict is good because we improve to try and overcome it. But your whole philosophy is that you can't improve, because if you keep improving, you'll solve all your problems. And you've just stated that regression to a less advanced state is good. So evolving beyond that less advanced state is bad. So either the regression back to the less advanced state was either pointless or at worst actively harmful, or you're putting forth an idea where you have to, you know, at some point say, okay, we've gone too far, we have to regress again, so there's conflict, in order to avoid progressing to the point where your society would regress anyways. If we accept that without conflict, society will just stagnate and regress, it honestly feels like no matter what you do, you'll stagnate and regress. So what exactly are you arguing for? Just do it faster? That doesn't sound right. Because if you do it faster, all that means is that, like, throughout the history of the universe, less people are gonna have the benefits of a super advanced society. I don't understand these arguments. And, you know, it's a lot easier to say this doesn't really make sense without someone from the other side to argue the points against it. But even if I've never heard anything close to compelling to be like, okay, no, this is why. And don't get me wrong, like, technology isn't inherently good either. Speaking of that, appeal to nature is a logical fallacy. The idea that because it's natural, it's better is a fallacy. It has no real basis. I mean, there are things that are, you know, so to say, natural that are better than the unnatural version. Natural air is better than polluted air, but, you know, unnatural, so to say, medicine is better than, like, just random flowers and like the herbs that we derive the medicine from, which, yes, can work, but genuinely less effectively and with more side effects. They're not as good. Yeah, but anyway, I mean, it's not the worst episode of TOS. It's a fine episode. It's basically what I kind of remembered. It's a fine enough episode. I've critiqued some of the things how it was constructed, but it's really just the argument it's trying to make that's the problem for me. But yeah, next week we have The Devil in the Dark, which I always remember very fondly. I believe it's a personal favorite. I mean, who knows with remembering these things from your childhood, but it's the one with the Horta, the, like, silicon-based lava monster kind of thing. That I always really loved that one. And it always just had some scenes that stuck with me. Like when Spock's mind melding with the Horta, I know that's a scene that always stuck with me. Although saying that, it's not one of the 3 scenes I remembered when I went and rewatched TOS for the first time. But I don't know how much it's regarded as a classic, like, generally. I think it's considered a pretty good one. But yeah, Devil in the Dark. After that, Errand of Mercy. I believe that's one of the Klingon ones. Then City on the Edge of Forever. Of course, that one is Honestly, probably appreciated by others more than me, but it's still a very good one. It's a classic. And Operation Annihilate, which is the one I always think is Gary 7, but it's actually the one with Kirk's brother in it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. That was my review. Thank you all for watching. I don't know. I don't have anything else after that. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.